Ray Rice. He was a rising star in the NFL, drafted in the second round by the Baltimore Ravens in 2008. Known for his combination of speed, power, and agility, Rice quickly became a cornerstone of the Ravens' offense, earning multiple Pro Bowl selections and helping lead Baltimore to a Super Bowl 47 victory in 2013. But in February 2014, Rice's promising career took a catastrophic turn. A video surfaced showing Rice striking his then-fiancée, Janae Palmer, in an Atlantic City elevator, knocking her unconscious. The footage shocked fans, teammates, and the NFL itself, sparking immediate outrage and widespread media coverage. Initially, the league handed Rice a 2-game suspension, a decision that many critics labeled as far too lenient. Public pressure intensified, leading the NFL to impose an indefinite ban. The Baltimore Ravens released him the same day, effectively ending his career overnight. Rice was later indicted on third-degree aggravated assault charges and entered a pretrial intervention program, which allowed him to avoid a formal conviction if he met certain conditions. Despite the legal resolution, his NFL legacy was irreparably damaged. Greg Hardy was a force on the field, a Pro Bowl defensive end known for his explosive speed and power, capable of dismantling offensive lines with terrifying efficiency. Drafted by the Carolina Panthers in 2010, Hardy quickly became one of the NFL's most feared pass rushers. In 2013, he recorded 15 sacks, earning a trip to the Pro Bowl and solidifying his reputation as a defensive powerhouse. But off the field, Hardy's life was marred by controversy. In May 2014, he was arrested on charges of assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Nicole Holder. The allegations were severe: claims of choking, threats of death, and being thrown onto a futon covered with firearms. Hardy was convicted in a bench trial in July 2014, receiving a 60-day suspended sentence and 18 months of probation. However, the conviction was overturned after Holder failed to appear for a jury trial, leading to the charges being dismissed. Despite the dismissal, the NFL took action. Hardy was initially suspended for 10 games under the league's personal conduct policy. Following an appeal, the suspension was reduced to 4 games. This decision sparked widespread debate about the NFL's handling of domestic violence cases and the balance between player conduct and on-field performance. Hardy returned to the field with the Dallas Cowboys in 2015, making an immediate impact with 2 sacks in his first game against the New England Patriots. However, his performance declined over the season and his tenure with the Cowboys ended after 1 year. Subsequently, Hardy transitioned to mixed martial arts and boxing, though his career in combat sports was short-lived. In June 2025, Hardy was arrested again, this time for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, Miranda Thorpe. Reports indicated visible injuries on Thorpe, and Hardy faced charges of assault causing bodily injury to a family member, Jovan Belcher. Once a formidable linebacker, he met an end in a tragedy that shook the NFL to its core. On December 1, 2012, Belcher fatally shot his girlfriend, Cassandra Perkins, before driving to the Kansas City Chiefs practice facility and taking his own life in front of his coach and general manager. He was 25 years old. Belcher's rise to the NFL was unconventional. Undrafted out of the University of Maine, he earned a spot with the Chiefs as a free agent. His work ethic and determination made him a starter by 2010, and he was known for his leadership on and off the field. He was also involved in community outreach, visiting military bases and schools to promote positive messages. However, beneath the surface, Belcher struggled with personal issues. He and Perkins, the mother of his 3-month-old daughter, Zoe, had a tumultuous relationship, marked by frequent arguments. On the night before the tragedy, Perkins attended a concert, and Belcher was seen with another woman. The following morning, after a heated argument, Belcher shot Perkins 9 times in front of his mother, who had recently moved in to help care for their daughter. He then drove to the Chiefs facility, thanked his coach and general manager, and took his own life. An autopsy revealed that Belcher had a blood alcohol content more than twice the legal limit at the time of the incident. Additionally, his brain showed signs consistent with CTE. This tragedy prompted the NFL to reevaluate its approach to player mental health. The league reportedly established a 24-hour emergency hotline connecting players and their families to mental health professionals. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'll greatly appreciate it if you could show support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you, Rae Carruth. In 1997, he was becoming a star in the NFL, drafted in the first round by the Carolina Panthers. Known for his speed and agility, he was poised to become one of the league's premier wide receivers. However, his promising career took a devastating turn in November 1999. Carruth orchestrated a heinous crime. He conspired to murder his pregnant girlfriend, Sherika Adams. On November 16th, Adams was shot 4 times while driving in Charlotte, North Carolina. Despite being gravely injured, she managed to identify Carruth as the mastermind before falling into a coma. Adams passed away weeks later, but her son, Chancellor Lee Adams, was delivered prematurely and survived, though he suffers from cerebral palsy due to oxygen deprivation during the ordeal. Carruth was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit murder, among other offenses. He was convicted in 2001 and sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison. After serving nearly 19 years, Carruth was released in October 2018. Upon his release, he expressed a desire to reconnect with his son, Chancellor, who was being raised by his maternal grandmother, Sandra Adams. However, Sandra adamantly rejected any notion of Carruth having custody, stating that Chancellor would never be raised by someone who had tried to kill him. O.J. Simpson. His name is etched into NFL history as one of the most electrifying running backs of all time. Drafted first overall by the Buffalo Bills in 1969, Simpson rewrote record books, becoming the first player to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season in 1973, a feat that cemented his Hall of Fame trajectory. His combination of speed, vision, and strength made him nearly unstoppable on the field, earning multiple Pro Bowl selections and the adoration of fans nationwide. Yet Simpson's personal life told a far darker story. His marriage to Nicole Brown Simpson was marked by years of domestic abuse, documented through police reports and witness statements. Friends and family had raised concerns about Simpson's increasingly controlling and violent behavior, though the public largely remained unaware until tragedy struck. On June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were found brutally murdered outside her Los Angeles home. Simpson quickly became the prime suspect, leading to a media frenzy that gripped the nation. In the ensuing criminal trial, he was acquitted of murder charges in 1995, a verdict that divided public opinion and highlighted racial tensions, media influence, and questions of legal strategy. However, in 1997, a civil court found Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths of Brown and Goldman, ordering him to pay $33.5 million in damages. The case transformed Simpson from a celebrated athlete to an emblem of fame clashing with infamy. Fans, sports analysts, and cultural commentators debated whether his athletic legacy could or should be separated from his criminal and abusive history. Chad Johnson, known as Chad Ochocinco, he was a wide receiver who electrified the NFL with his agility, precise route running, and showmanship. Drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2001, Johnson quickly became one of the league's most dynamic offensive weapons. By 2005, he had over 1,200 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns, earning a Pro Bowl nod, and fans couldn't get enough of his end zone celebrations, bold personality, and charisma. He embodied the modern NFL star, talented, confident, and larger than life. But off the field, Johnson's personal life was tumultuous and destructive. In 2007, he headbutted his then-wife, Evelyn Lozada, during an altercation at their home. Johnson pleaded no contest to the charges and received probation, avoiding jail time initially. Yet his legal troubles didn't end there. In 2009, he was sentenced to 30 days in jail after violating probation conditions related to the domestic violence case, further complicating his public image and reputation. The case ignited a national conversation about celebrity, talent, and accountability. Johnson's on-field brilliance could not erase the fear, pain, and trauma he caused off the field. His personality, once celebrated for charm and entertainment, became intertwined with violence, leaving fans conflicted. Some struggled to reconcile his athletic achievements with the moral gravity of his actions. Even as Johnson continued to perform at a high level on the field, his off-field behavior overshadowed his career milestones. Dez Bryant rose to stardom after being drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the first round of 2010. Known for his leaping catches, physicality, and game-changing ability, Bryant became a fan favorite and a cornerstone of Dallas's offense. But off-field trouble surfaced in 2012 when he was arrested for a misdemeanor family violence charge after allegedly hitting his mother, Angela Bryant, with a ball cap during an argument. The charge was conditionally dismissed a year later after he completed a year of anger management counseling and stayed out of trouble. Though his mother initially called the police and reported the incident, she later indicated she did not want to pursue charges, which the family's attorney emphasized was not a plea agreement. Despite the incident, Bryant maintained elite on-field performance, posting multiple 1,000-yard seasons and earning Pro Bowl selections. Yet the arrest highlighted how quickly personal actions can intersect with fame. His career demonstrates that while mistakes off the field may not end a career outright, they leave lasting impressions that influence perception, reputation, and opportunities. Daryl Washington entered the NFL in 2010 as a second-round pick by the Arizona Cardinals, quickly establishing himself as one of the league's most dynamic linebackers. In 2012, he earned a Pro Bowl selection, leading the team with 134 tackles and 9 sacks. However, his promising career was marred by off-field issues. On May 3, 2013, Washington was arrested on 2 counts of aggravated assault after an altercation with his ex-girlfriend, the mother of his child. The incident occurred during a custody dispute, during which Washington allegedly grabbed her by the throat and shoved her to the ground, causing her to break her collarbone and sustain other injuries. In March 2014, Washington pleaded guilty to aggravated assault. He was sentenced to 1 year of supervised probation and ordered to complete a 36-week domestic violence and anger management program. Despite these efforts, Washington's troubles continued. On May 30, 2014, he was suspended indefinitely by the NFL for violating the league's substance abuse policy. He was conditionally reinstated in April 2017, but was released by the Cardinals shortly thereafter. Josh Brown began his NFL career as a reliable kicker, but in 2016, his trajectory was abruptly derailed when documents revealed years of domestic abuse. In May 2015, Brown was arrested in Washington state following an incident with his then-wife Molly Brown. Although the charges were later dropped, the case remained under investigation. In October 2016, documents from the King County Sheriff's Office were released, revealing that Brown had admitted to abusing his wife in journal entries, emails, and letters. One journal entry explicitly stated, "I have abused my wife." These documents detailed multiple instances of verbal and physical abuse over several years. The New York Giants, who had re-signed Brown to a 2-year contract in April 2016, initially suspended him for 1 game at the start of the season. However, after the release of these documents, the team placed him on the commissioner's exempt list and ultimately released him on October 25, 2016. Giants co-owner John Mara admitted that the team's previous handling of the situation was misguided. Ray McDonald, a defensive lineman for the 49ers and later the Bears, was a formidable force on the field. But between 2014 and 2015, his off-field life spiraled out of control. He faced multiple domestic violence allegations, including a disturbing incident where the alleged victim was holding a baby during the assault. Prosecutors later detailed a disturbing scene. The woman involved had been asleep in a bedroom when McDonald allegedly forced his way inside. They say he assaulted her while she was holding their 2-month-old baby. His driver reportedly tried to intervene as the woman attempted to escape, and McDonald eventually left the house. But while officers were still interviewing the victim, McDonald returned. The moment his driver saw the police presence, the vehicle sped off. Later that morning, San Jose police tracked McDonald down and arrested him at another residence, marking one of the most troubling off-field incidents connected to an active NFL player. Arrested twice, McDonald's career, once full of potential, was derailed by repeated accusations. Teams hesitated, public scrutiny intensified, and the NFL faced criticism over its handling of the cases. The league's response, discipline, suspension, and eventual release, sparked debate about consistency in enforcing policies and protecting victims. Jonathan Dwyer, a promising linebacker recognized for his intensity and work ethic, saw his career and reputation collapse most shockingly in 2014. Dwyer headbutted his wife, breaking her nose, and faced multiple additional domestic violence charges. The Cardinals initially placed him on the reserve list, but ultimately released him, severing ties with a player whose off-field actions overshadowed his athletic ability. What could have been a career defined by determination and skill became an example of how violent behavior off the field can destroy careers far faster than any on-field failure ever could. His potential was eclipsed by the consequences of personal choices, a reminder that talent does not excuse abuse. It also raises questions about prevention, intervention, and accountability, showing that some of the league's most promising stars can fall if personal issues go unaddressed. Reuben Foster burst into the NFL with the kind of raw talent coaches dream about. His speed, power, and instincts made him look like the future of any defense he touched. On Sundays, he hit like a storm, rattling quarterbacks and firing up crowds with every snap. But away from the field, everything changed in 2018. What should have been the rise of a star became a year that tested his reputation, his career, and his future. Foster faced multiple domestic violence arrests, a series of events that shook his reputation and overshadowed his undeniable ability. Though several charges were later dropped, the controversy haunted him. Fans and analysts debated endlessly. Did legal technicalities prevent justice, or was Foster unfairly judged by allegations alone? The Washington football team claimed him after a Tampa arrest, hoping to harness his talent, yet the shadow of his past loomed over every snap he played. No highlight reel, no tackle for loss could erase the stigma attached to his name. It became clear that in professional sports, personal conduct and public perception can rival raw ability in defining a player's legacy. Aldon Smith joined the NFL in 2011 as the 7th overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers, instantly recognized as one of the league's most fearsome pass rushers. His combination of speed, strength, and relentless aggression terrorized quarterbacks, earning him multiple Pro Bowl selections between 2011 and 2013 and establishing him as a cornerstone of a dominant 49ers defense. But off the field, Smith struggled with a different kind of aggression. Between 2012 and 2018, he faced multiple legal issues, including arrests for domestic violence, DUI, and restraining order violations. In 2013, Smith was arrested for DUI and drug-related charges. In 2014, he was arrested again for domestic violence. Each incident chipped away at his once promising career, eroding trust with teams and fans alike. The Raiders and NFL imposed suspensions and structured programs, but opportunities disappeared, and Smith's trajectory shifted from dominance to a disturbing tale. By 2018, his career had been derailed by a series of legal troubles, leaving fans and the NFL community to grapple with the reality that fame and talent cannot erase violent or unlawful behavior. Trevone Boykin emerged as a rising star at quarterback, showcasing the poise and arm talent to turn heads in the NFL. Fans imagined him leading the Seahawks to playoff glory, a player whose potential seemed limitless. But in 2018, Boykin's promising career came crashing down. He was arrested for aggravated assault against his girlfriend, leaving her with a broken jaw. The charges and the public scrutiny were swift and unforgiving. He was reportedly sentenced to 3 years in prison. Once celebrated for his athletic promise, Boykin became a clear example of how quickly talent can be overshadowed by violence off the field. Teams distanced themselves, opportunities vanished, and the bright trajectory of his career ended almost overnight. No highlight reel, no college accolades, no flashes of brilliance could protect him from the consequences of his actions. Montee Ball entered the NFL in 2013 as a second-round pick by the Denver Broncos, following a record-breaking college career at the University of Wisconsin, where he became one of the most decorated running backs in NCAA history. He was seen as unstoppable, a player who could change a game with a single run, someone whose vision, balance, and speed promised a long, successful career. But off the field, a darker story was unfolding. On February 5, 2016, Ball was arrested in Madison, Wisconsin, after allegedly throwing his girlfriend across a hotel room, causing injuries that required medical attention. Later reports also referenced a 2014 incident involving another girlfriend, leading to charges of strangulation, substantial battery, and disorderly conduct. In August 2016, Ball pleaded guilty to 2 counts of disorderly conduct and 1 count of battery as part of a plea agreement. He was sentenced to 60 days in jail and 18 months probation and was required to attend alcohol abuse and domestic violence counseling. The incident cast a permanent shadow over his career. Teams grew wary, and the fan admiration he once enjoyed turned into disappointment and disbelief. What could have been a story of gridiron greatness became a stark warning. Off-field actions can derail a career faster than on-field failures ever could. Larry Johnson began his NFL career in 2003 as the 5th overall pick by the Kansas City Chiefs, quickly becoming one of the league's most powerful and versatile running backs. Known for his punishing runs and ability to carry the offense, Johnson earned Pro Bowl honors in 2005 and 2006, leading the league in rushing touchdowns in 2006. Larry Johnson's NFL career was supposed to be defined by power runs and broken tackles, but off the field, it was controversy that kept finding him. His legal troubles began back in 2003, when he was charged with aggravated assault and misdemeanor battery after allegedly brandishing a gun. The case didn't go to trial. He entered a domestic violence diversion program, and the charges were dropped. But the warning signs didn't fade. By 2008, things escalated again. Johnson was arrested twice on separate assault charges. Instead of fighting the cases in court, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of disturbing the peace and was sentenced to 2 years of probation. Even with those incidents behind him, the drama didn't stop on the field or off it. In November 2009, just as he was coming off a 2-week suspension for conduct detrimental to the team, the Kansas City Chiefs cut him. The breaking point? His behavior on social media. He mocked head coach Todd Haley for never playing in the NFL, insulted a fan by bragging about his salary, and used a gay slur online, igniting national backlash. Reports detailed a troubling pattern of abuse, including threats and assaults toward women in his life, some involving alleged violence against partners and family members. Each incident chipped away at his public image and cast a long shadow over his otherwise stellar career. Teams and fans struggled to reconcile his athletic achievements with his off-field behavior. Lawrence Phillips joined the NFL in 1996 as the 6th overall pick by the St. Louis Rams, hailed for his explosive speed and game-breaking talent as a running back. On the field, he dazzled fans and analysts alike, promising a career of dominance. But off the field, Phillips's life was chaotic and violent. During his NFL tenure with the Rams, 49ers, and Dolphins, Phillips faced numerous domestic violence arrests, including allegations of assault and threats toward women. His behavior repeatedly disrupted his career, leading to suspensions, releases, and a reputation as a high-risk player despite his prodigious talent. Teams grew wary and opportunities vanished as the pattern of abuse escalated. After his NFL career ended, Phillips's violent tendencies continued. He was later sentenced to more than 30 years in prison for separate offenses, including murder and assault, highlighting a tragic trajectory of unchecked aggression and legal consequences. His life became an example of how early violent behavior, left unaddressed, can spiral into lifelong tragedy. James Harrison, drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2002 as an undrafted free agent, became one of the NFL's most feared defensive players. Known for his explosive speed, punishing hits, and relentless pursuit of quarterbacks, Harrison earned multiple Pro Bowl selections and the 2008 Defensive Player of the Year award. His on-field reputation was legendary, but off the field, Harrison faced challenges that reminded fans how fragile a career can be. In 2008, he was arrested and charged with domestic violence allegations involving his then-girlfriend, Beth Tibbett. It started with an argument over whether their son should be baptized. As the dispute escalated, Tibbett locked herself in a bedroom and tried to call 911. Harrison allegedly broke down the door, grabbed her phone, snapped it in half, and struck her across the face. She later told authorities she was frightened of him. What began as a disagreement over a family decision spiraled into a criminal case, one that stained the reputation of a player known for controlled aggression on game day, but now linked to violence behind closed doors. The charges were later withdrawn after Harrison completed a counseling program, which the courts and NFL considered in their evaluation of the case. While his career continued with high-level performance, the incident highlighted the critical importance of accountability and intervention. Warren Moon, a Hall of Fame quarterback, carved out one of the most storied careers in NFL history. After dominating the Canadian Football League, he joined the Houston Oilers in 1984, leading them to multiple playoff appearances with his strong arm and poise under pressure. Moon's talent was undeniable, and he became a symbol of longevity and excellence at quarterback. Yet off the field, Moon faced serious legal trouble. In 1995, he was arrested on domestic violence allegations involving his wife. The charges shook fans and the NFL community, casting a shadow over his career. After a full trial, Moon was acquitted of all charges, clearing him legally, but leaving lingering questions about the impact of public accusations on a player's reputation. Despite continuing his career, returning to play with the Seattle Seahawks in 1997, the incident remained a point of discussion. Even for a Hall of Famer, off-field allegations can leave a lasting stain, reminding viewers that personal conduct and public image are inseparable from professional legacy. Ezekiel Elliott entered the NFL in 2016 as the Dallas Cowboys' first-round pick, quickly emerging as one of the league's premier running backs. Known for his speed, vision, and punishing style between the tackles, Elliott dominated from his rookie season, leading the NFL in rushing yards and establishing himself as a cornerstone of Dallas's offense. Away from the field, Elliott found himself under intense scrutiny in 2017, when his ex-girlfriend accused him of domestic violence, triggering an NFL investigation under the league's personal conduct policy. Although no criminal charges were ever filed, the league suspended Elliott for 6 games in 2017, citing violations of the policy. The suspension sparked widespread debate about fairness, due process, and how off-field allegations can impact a player's career, regardless of legal outcomes. While his career continued successfully after the suspension, the episode served as a reminder of the weight that off-field behavior carries, even for NFL superstars. Xavien Howard, he had the Pro Bowl title, the contract, the spotlight, but all it takes is one moment behind closed doors to change everything the public thinks they know. According to police reports, it all started over something that sounded harmless: a purse. Howard, just 26 at the time, got into an argument with his fiancée inside their Florida home. But this wasn't just a disagreement about spending. Emotions flared, and that small spark set off something much darker. What happened next would land him in headlines for all the wrong reasons. Standing at 6'1" and nearly 200 pounds, Howard allegedly grabbed his fiancée by the arm and shoved her into a mirrored glass wall in their bedroom. The impact sent her straight to the floor, and in a cruel twist, she landed against his crutches, crushing her arm beneath her as she fell. The police report didn't release her name, but the details told the story clearly. What started as a domestic argument had now turned into a criminal incident with physical injuries and public consequences. In that moment, his career, his image, and his future were no longer controlled by performance, but by a police affidavit and a headline. Mark Walton. Drafted by the Miami Dolphins in 2018, Mark Walton showed promise as a speedy running back out of the University of Miami. He flashed bursts of brilliance on the field, but his NFL career was derailed by violence off it. In April 2019, Walton was arrested for punching a pregnant woman, leading to an immediate waiver by the Dolphins. The team's swift response reflected zero-tolerance policies for violent conduct, sending a warning across the league. Walton later pleaded no contest and served a brief sentence, highlighting how quickly a professional opportunity can evaporate when off-field actions intersect with legal consequences. Chad Wheeler wasn't a franchise star or a face of the league, just a backup lineman trying to hold on to a roster spot. But in January 2021, Chad Wheeler's name would explode into national outrage, not for anything he did on the field, but for what police say happened inside his own home. According to reports, Wheeler's girlfriend, Alea Taylor, endured a night that felt like a horror scene. Investigators say he twice pinned her down and choked her until she lost consciousness. Not once, but 2 separate times. And then came the moment that stunned the world. When Taylor came for the second time, she told police that Wheeler looked at her calmly and said he was surprised she was still alive. This wasn't a scuffle. This was survival. Taylor's injuries told the rest of the story: a fractured humerus, a dislocated elbow, and bruises that showed the force she was fighting against. The images, the reports, the 911 call, everything painted a picture that couldn't be brushed aside or buried by a team PR statement. Whatever career Wheeler thought he still had in the NFL ended that night. But the conversation his actions sparked is still ongoing. Zack Stacy entered the NFL as a second-round pick by the St. Louis Rams in 2013, a running back known for his strength, vision, and ability to break tackles. He showed flashes of brilliance, especially during the 2015 season with the New York Jets, but his career took a dark turn off the field. In 2017, Stacy was recorded on home surveillance video violently attacking his ex-girlfriend, a shocking act that quickly went viral and captured national attention. The footage revealed the severity of the assault, leaving no ambiguity about the danger Stacy posed. He later pled guilty in Florida and was sentenced to 4 years in prison, highlighting the permanent legal consequences of domestic violence. Teams distanced themselves, endorsements disappeared, and Stacy's once promising NFL career ended in disgrace. Richard Sherman built a reputation as a fierce, outspoken cornerback known for lockdown coverage and unforgettable interceptions, but in 2021, Sherman's name appeared in troubling headlines. He was arrested on charges that included burglary, domestic violence, a Washington state legal label tied to domestic incidents. Sherman later pled guilty to misdemeanor counts unrelated to assault, but the case still raised eyebrows. Sherman's legacy on the gridiron remained intact for many, yet the controversy showed that even top talent can't escape the consequences of personal actions. These stories show how fame can't outrun consequences. Some lost everything, others still battled public judgment. But one truth stands: the NFL cannot ignore what happens off the field. If you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be posting a lot more interesting videos on the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. Thank you very much.